I've been thinking about the kind of horrible neurotic pain that comes with needing to make it as an artist, and this is often something that people get at birth. It seems like they came out and they started with this like mental illness of, I need to make it as an artist. I have to do this. This is the thing I was made to do. And if I can't do that thing I was made to do, I will die or something. It's like I will wilt. I will be very unhappy. So I was thinking about where that came from, because I have that, obviously. And I had that. That was like the defining kind of feeling for my entire life, really. Is just like, how do I make this work? How do I do this as a living? How do I get like external validation for this thing so that I can do it more? This thing that I felt like I was, born to do. And I think it comes down to this idea of you feel like the only way you can provide social value is by being an artist. Like that's what maybe when you were a kid people told you were good at, right? And you thought, okay, I can provide the social value. This is the thing that, people are gonna like me for. That's gonna get me the babes and the money. That's why it feels such a high pressure thing. But as you continue to live your life, you do learn other things about you that you didn't even know provided social value, that do provide social value. And it surprises you sometimes because, you have this expectation, this narrative in your head that the purpose of your life is to become a great artist. And you're like, I'm going to make the best art, and that's why I'm going to be socially valuable. You decide that. You decide that's what's going to happen with your life. And that's just not how most people's lives go. That's how almost nobody's life goes. And it's just a story. And, maybe it's a story that's reinforced by a bunch of stupid biopics and interviews and, artists who talk like that is the point of life and that is how life goes. And for me, I think the thing that has probably been more valuable to the world, really, on an objective level, or at least more valuable in a way where I can actively perceive it and I can feel good about it, is just being a good connector of people. That's it. And that's not something I knew when I was 18. When I was 18, I wasn't sitting down being like this is how I will produce social value. At 18, I was like, I need to make art and make money from art and be successful as an artist. That's how I'm going to be, that's how I'm going to be valuable. And, you get older and you find more parts of yourself, more aspects of yourself that you also relate to and you also think are good. And it doesn't just have to be, this one very specific narrow pathway that will, if it fails, cause you to be very sad, right? And depressed. And sometimes, you can carry this delusion with you for as long as it's helpful to carry that specific narrative. But there's going to come a point when it's not helpful for you anymore. And you should drop it. And it doesn't mean you have to stop making art. It just means there's a whole other life. And it's complicated, right? Because there's no world in which you just sit down and you say, this narrative isn't helping me, I'm done with art. Because you're never done with art. Trust me. You can try to quit it, but part of why you're an artist is just your perspective on things, and that's not going away, fella. Doesn't matter what you do. You can stop acting on it, sure, but it's always going to be there, and you're always going to have that impulse. Unless you get a lobotomy, maybe. I'm not writing off the lobotomy option. So, I would say, life and art, they're separate, they're the same, but also, when you're going through your life, you're always going to be going through it with an artistic lens. You're always going to be looking at things artistically, and you're also going to be building yourself up as an artist no matter what you do. Even if you rot, you're still building yourself up as an artist. Probably an artist that's going to make art about rotting in 10 years. But you should think about it in the time span of your entire life, of the kind of person you're going to become. And I think about there's a famous photographer who's famous for filming a time lapse of their children, or 4 of their children over 20 years. So you see them as babies and they grow up. That's what the guy will be remembered for. He probably thought he would be remembered for something else, something he did before he had kids. But then he had kids, and then he just you don't like, you're probably not even considering the kind of art you're going to make with your children. I don't know if that's a good example, but like, you gotta go out in the world, you gotta grow, you gotta have all these kinds of experiences. These unique experiences will make a unique tapestry of a person, which in turn will make someone who's a unique artist. And if you're like if you're 5 years old and you get it implanted into your head that the only way you can be happy is if you make it in this specific field that your parents complimented you in when you were a kid, or that your classmates thought were good, that your teacher said was good, which is that, you make music. Okay, fine, you're a great actor. Okay, but you're 6, all right? You're 6, and you know how many 6-year-olds heard that they were a great actor? Millions and millions. And do you think you're going to be the best of the millions? Probably not. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to make above poverty wage acting, right? So, and you'll grow and you'll learn different mediums and you'll learn different ways of being valuable to people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be art. And in fact, yeah, like what I was just saying, I look at the community I built and the value I've added to the people around me, which is a lot objectively because of the right people coming together in the right space, under the right sort of vibe and direction. And a lot of that has nothing to do with me being creative or a cool artist. A lot of it is just, I meet 2 people, and I like these 2 people, and I get them to get along. Obviously, in the case of my studio, it's people that I can reach because they're online, they're in my orbit. But I could have, I wish I was doing this when I was 17, with people in my high school, that I just knew. I wish I was doing this in university. So, yeah, that's what I've been thinking about.